The third will lead the chamber in prayer. Senator Pimentel is recognized.
Panginoon, dinatnan ni Typhoon Ruby ang Pilipinas na mas handa at nagkakaisa sa pagharap ng bagong paghamon. Sa iyo po kami humuhugot ng lakas ng loob, ng tiwala sa sarili at sa kapwa at sa pagmamahal sa inang bayan. Kayo ang aming sandata sa bawat sakuna, sandalan sa bawat problema, sandigan sa bawat pighati. Alay po namin sa inyo ang aming pag-unawa sa mga aral na mula sa nakaraang bagyo upang mabantayan at mapaghandaan ng maayos ang mga darating pang kalamidad. Salamat sa inyong patuloy na paggabay sa aming mga weather forecasters, mga kapulisan at LGUs, mga kawani ng pamahalaan, simbahan, media, at pribadong mga organisasyon at sa bawat pamilyang Pilipino. Itinataas namin sa inyo, Panginoon, ang mga kapatid naming pumanaw, mga pamilyang nawalan ng tahanan, at mga kababayan na nananatili sa mga evacuation centers. Lord, kayo na po ang bahala sa aming lahat. Salamat po. Amen.
Amen. The Secretary will call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan, Peter Companya Ruiz, Cayetano P.S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Unasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar, Senate President Trilon.
13 senators are present. The chair declares the presence of a quorum. The majority leader is recognized.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, to our dear colleagues. Mr. President, with the consent of our colleagues, I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 37th session, December 9, 2014, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Hearing none, the reading of the journal of session number 37 on December 9, 2014 is dispensed with, and the same is hereby approved.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
The Secretary will read the reference of business.
Bills on first reading. Senate number 2489, entitled An Act Requiring the Secretary of Education to establish a pilot program to award grants to educational agencies to develop financial literacy programs in elementary and secondary schools, by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Education, Arts and Culture, Finance.
Senate number 2490, an act authorizing the Commission on Higher Education to establish a program to award grants to institutions of higher education for the establishment or expansion of cybersecurity professional development programs, by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Education, Arts and Culture, Science and Technology, Finance.
Senate number 2491, an act to conduct a pilot program in support of efforts to increase the amount of purchases of local fresh fruits and vegetables for schools by giving certain administrative regions the option of receiving a grant from the Secretary of Agriculture, by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Agriculture and Food, Education, Arts and Culture, Finance.
Senate number 2492, an act establishing a new office under the Department of Agriculture to increase the emphasis on urban agricultural issues and to effectively encourage local agricultural production and increase the availability of fresh food in urban areas, particularly underserved communities experiencing hunger, poor nutrition, obesity, and food insecurity, by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Agriculture and Food.
Senate number 2493, an act making the malversation of reclaimed lands a crime, amending for this purpose Article 217 of Act number 3815, otherwise known as the Penal Code, by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Environment and Natural Resources.
Senate number 2494, an act requiring the use of safety devices for children riding in motor vehicles, by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Public Services.
Senate number 2495, an act to require the Consumer Product Safety Commission to prescribe rules requiring distinctive markings on toy and look-alike firearms by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Public order and dangerous drugs, trade, commerce, and entrepreneurship.
Senate Number 2496, an act establishing a national system of care counsel for children with serious emotional disturbance by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Youth, women, family relations, and gender equality, finance.
Senate Number 2497, an act providing for the establishment of a forensic DNA data bank by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Public order and dangerous drugs, justice and human rights, finance.
Senate Number 2498, an act requiring the regular maintenance and preservation of all public infrastructures, establishing mechanisms for its implementation by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Public works,
Senate Number 2499, an act regulating the operation and maintenance of internet cafe, video and computer game shops and other establishments providing computer services within the vicinity of schools, public playgrounds, daycare facilities, and churches, and for the purposes by Senator Ejercito Estrada.
trade, commerce, and entrepreneurship, local government.
Senate Number 2500, an act to create offenses in respect of unique electronic equipment identifiers of mobile wireless communications devices by Senator Ejercito Estrada.
Public services, justice, and human rights.
Senate Number 2501, an act strengthening the conservation and protection of national cultural heritage through enhanced cultural heritage education programs and cultural mapping, amending for this purpose Republic Act Number 10066 or the National Cultural Heritage Act by Senator Ligarda.
Education, arts, and culture, local government.
Senate Number 2502, an act providing emergency relief and protection for children during disasters, calamities, and other emergency situations, Senator Ligarda.
Youth and social justice, welfare, and rural development.
Senate Number 2503, an act establishing the Public Assets Management Corporation of the Philippines, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Grace Poe.
Government corporations and public enterprises, finance.
Senate Number 2504, an act requiring multi-hazard maps and flood hazard maps in every local government unit and for other purposes, Senator Lapid.
Environment and natural resources, local government, finance.
Resolutions. PS Resolution Number 1050, calling on the appropriate Senate committees to conduct an investigation in aid of legislation on the growing number of cases of human immunodeficiency and acquired immunodeficiency syndrome with the end in view of increasing public awareness thereon, Senator Maria Lourdes, Nancy S. Binay.
Health and demography.
Yes, Resolution Number 1051, directing the proper Senate committee to investigate in aid of legislation the reported increase in child rape cases, Senator Maria Lourdes, Nancy S. Binay.
Committees on youth and public order and dangerous drugs.
Yes, Resolution Number 1052, recognizing the 66th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the celebration of the International Human Rights Day, introduced by Senator Sani Angara.
Rules.
Yes, Resolution Number 1053, resolution congratulating Vegan City in Ilocos Sur for being named as one of the new 7 wonder cities of the world, Senator Lapid.
Rules.
Yes, Resolution Number 1054, directing the proper Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation and the numerous reports of real estate subdivision buyers on the alleged unlawful practices committed by real estate developers, owners, and operators by Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito.
Urban planning, housing, and resettlement.
Yes, Resolution Number 1055, expressing support of the Senate of the Philippines to the Catholic faithful of the Philippines for their profound devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary, Our Lady of Guadalupe, as the patroness of the Philippine Islands by Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito.
Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider proposed Senate Resolution Number 1052.
Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of proposed Senate Resolution 1052 is in order.
Mr. President, may we request the Secretary to read the title and the text of the said measure.
Secretary will read the title and the text of the said measure.
Yes, Resolution Number 1052, introduced by Senator Sani Angara. Resolution recognizing the 66th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the celebration of the International Human Rights Day. Whereas the Universal Declaration of Human Rights adopted by the United Nations General Assembly 66 years ago on December 10, 1948, where the Philippines was among the 48 member states voting in favor of the declaration, represents the first comprehensive agreement among nations as to the specific rights and freedoms of all human beings. Whereas although the declaration, with its broad range of political, civil, social, cultural, and economic rights, is not a binding document, it, however, has since served as the foundation upon which all other human rights work at the international level has stood and remains to this day an enduring guide for human rights advocates around the globe. Whereas the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed December 10 as Human Rights Day in 1950 to bring to the attention of the peoples of the world the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as the common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations. Whereas this year's commemoration has its slogan, Human Rights 365, encompassing the idea that every day is Human Rights Day and celebrating the fundamental proposition in the Universal Declaration that each one of us, everywhere, at all times, is entitled to the full range of human rights, that human rights belong equally to each of us and bind us together as a global community with the same ideals and values. Whereas Section 11, Article 2 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution expressly provides that the state values the dignity of every human person and guarantees full respect for human rights by upholding the basic principles of liberty and freedom as further enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Whereas human rights awareness is essential to the realization of fundamental freedoms and contributes to promoting equality, preventing conflict and human rights violations, and enhancing participation in democratic processes. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Senate of the Philippines, 1, recognizes the 66th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the celebration of the International Human Rights Day. 2, supports the ideals of human rights and reaffirms the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. 3, encourages all nations to continue working towards freedom, peace, and security, which can be achieved only through democracy, respect for human rights, and the rule of law. And 4, encourages the people of the Republic of the Philippines to observe Human Rights Day and continue their commitment of holding freedom, democracy, and human rights across the globe.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we recognize the author, Senator Angara, to sponsor the said measure.
Senator Sonny Angara is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Majority Leader. Distinguished colleagues, I rise on a day of utmost, albeit sometimes understated, even forgotten importance. 66 years ago, to this day, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a proclamation which started with, "All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and in rights." O sa ating wika, ang lahat ng tao ay isinilang na malaya at pantay-pantay sa karangalan at sa karapatan. Ito po ang pandaigdig na pagpapahayag ng mga karapatan ng tao o ang Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR. Ang UDHR ang siyang nagsisilbing basehan ng halos 60 or 60 international instruments and agreements na silang nagpapabuklod sa mundo patungo sa isang mas mapang-aruga at nakakasiglang kinabukasan. Dahil sa UDHR, nagkakaisang mundo sa adhikain. Matamasa ang isang lipunan kung saan bawat tao ay malayang mabuhay ng matiwasay at ligtas sa anumang pangamba o pagdaralita, free from any fear or want. Isa po tayo sa mga unang lumagda ng UDHR, ang ating bansang Pilipinas. Mismo sa ating saligang batas nakasaad na pinahahalagahan ng Estado ang karangalan ng bawat tao at ginagarantiyahan ng ang lubos na paggalang sa mga karapatang pantao, Mr. President. Kung kaya't layunin ng marami sa ating batas ngayon ay nakaangkla sa prinsipyong ito. Ngunit nananatili pa rin ang iba't ibang banta sa angking dignidad ng tao. Wala man ang karahasan na naranasan ng mundo noong ikalawang digmaang pandaigdig, may lumalapastangan pa rin sa mga karapatan ng tao bilang tao. It was Pope Francis himself, Mr. President, who said that human rights are not only violated by terrorism, repression, or assassination, but also by unfair economic structures that create huge inequalities. To this list, we can add high food, gas and shelter prices, inaccessible health and education services, inadequate employment opportunities, and societal inaction that leave many people in vulnerable conditions. which makes commemorating today, December 10th, Human Rights Day, the 66th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, all the more important, which makes the current administration's drive for inclusive growth all the more imperative, Mr. President. This year's slogan for Human Rights Day is Human Rights 365 or 365, highlighting the fundamental proposition of the UDHR that every single person is entitled to the full range of human rights anywhere in the world and at all times. In other words, each day should in fact be Human Rights Day. We hope to reach a time when human rights are felt much like air and water are experienced, ubiquitously, and by everybody. For just like air and water, these rights are essential to us living in this country and in this globe. And while we have yet to achieve this, Mr. President, we will continue our human rights awareness campaigns and our work to meaningfully incorporate such rights in our laws and policies. Thank you, Mr. President. I invite this August Chamber to join the globe in commemorating and celebrating Human Rights Day.
Thank you very much, Senator Angara. The Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the proposed Senate Resolution number 1052, subject to style, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, proposed Senate Resolution number 1052 is hereby adopted.
Mr. President, may I move that all senators present be made co-authors of
Make
this
it a
motion.
record.
Mr. President, may we recognize the presence and welcome to the Senate the Honorable Maria Milagros N. Fernan Cayosa, JBC regular member representing the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, who is with us today.
The Honorable Maria Milagros Fernan Cayosa is recognized. Her presence is made of record.
We have councilors from Duero Bohol, Councilor Emma Bahade, Councilor Abueva, Councilor Acha Coso, Councilor Jefferson Toralba. May we ask them to rise also to be recognized?
Yes, we make their presence of record. Welcome them to the Senate.
Maayong hapon sa kanila. Laguna Board Member Boy Zuniga is also here, the ABC President of Provincial President of Laguna.
The presence of our visitor is made of record. Welcome to the Senate.
And of course, Mr. President, the city officials of Binyan, City Mayor Alonte Nagiyat, together also, of course, is the former mayor and the father also of Binyan, former Mayor Alonte. We have Vice Mayor Dimagila, Sangguniang Panlunsod members, ABC President Jason Sosa. We have 24 barangay chairpersons of the city of Binyan who are with us today. May we ask them to rise to be recognized?
We place of record the presence of the officials of the city of Binyan, led by Mayor Nagyat and the former Mayor Alonte, and all the barangay captains. Welcome to the Senate.
Mr. President, we also have the former mayor and now the proud spouse of the mayor of San Pedro, Mayor Katakis, who used to also be the chairman of the Laguna Lake Development Authority.
Welcome to the Senate, Mayor Katakis.
And last but not least, Mr. President, ang inyo pong mga kababayan from Iloilo, councilors of San Miguel, headed by Councilor Sherwin Sanchez, is here with us.
The councilors of San Miguel, Iloilo, led by Sherwin Sanchez. Welcome to the Senate and make their presence of record.
Mr. President, I move that we transfer House Bill number 3917 under Committee Report number 72 from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
This is House Bill 3917 under Committee Report number 72. Is transferred from the calendar of special orders to the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
With the consent of the Senate and our colleagues, Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill number 3917 under Committee Report number 7.
Any objection? Hearing none, in order.
Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move that the Secretary read only the title of the said measure.
The Secretary will read the title of the measure.
An act increasing the number of members of the Sangguniang Panlunsod of the City of Binyan from 10 to 12 and separating it from the 1st Legislative District of the Province of Laguna to constitute the lone Legislative District of the City of Binyan, amending for the purpose Sections 10 and 61 respectively of Republic Act No. 9740, otherwise known as the Charter of the City of Binyan.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Local Governments and the sponsor of the said measure, Senator Bongbong Marcos.
Senator Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is recognized to sponsor House Bill number 3917.
Thank
Senator
you
Marcos.
very much, Mr. President. I would just like to add my greetings to those of the Majority Floor Leader, to the political leadership of the towns of Binyan and San Pedro. We have with us former Mayor Arthur Alonte of Binyan and former Mayor Calix Katakis of San Pedro. Also, of course, Mayor Lenlen Alonte Nagiat, Vice Mayor Di Maguila, and the members of the City Council. We have 10 members here with us this afternoon. The ABC President, who has already been recognized, and the 24 barangay captains who are also here. And they are here, Mr. President, to show their moral support for the bill that I am sponsoring today. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I have the honor to report to the Senate House Bill number 3917 under Committee Report number 72, which seeks to separate Binyan City from the 1st Legislative District of the Province of Laguna to constitute a lone legislative district. The City of Binyan is one of the 3 local government units comprising the 1st Legislative District of the Province of Laguna. The City of San Pedro and the City of Santa Rosa are the other 2. The City of Binyan is a first-class component city. Prior to its cityhood in 2010, Binyan was the richest municipality in the Philippines, with an annual gross income of 677 million and net income of 250 million as of 2007, based on the record from the Commission on Audit. In the last 3 years, it has been reported that the city generated an average annual gross income of 1.3 billion pesos. Because of its proximity to Metro Manila, the city has become one of the top investment destinations of multinational companies. It has 2 world-class industrial parks, the Laguna International Industrial Park and the Laguna Technopark Incorporated. These industrial parks are home to various local and multinational companies that employ a large number of its residents, as well as residents of other places. To name a few, they are Honda Parts Manufacturing Corporation, Toshiba Philippines, Hitachi Computer Products Asia, Gardenia Bakeries Philippines Incorporated, Nidec Corporation, Isuzu Philippines, Atlas Capco, Rionan Electric, Sirtec Electronics, Nissin Brake, and Quito Corporation. In the explanatory note of the proponent, Representative Dan Fernandez of the 1st District of Laguna, which was expounded during the hearings by the Mayor of Binyan, the Honorable Lenlen Alonte Nagiat, it was explained that since the approval of RA number 9740, otherwise known as an act converting the municipality of Binyan in the province of Laguna into a component city to be known as the City of Binyan in October 2009, the city has grown extensively, both in terms of population and income. Consequently, the city is now entitled to have its own legislative district. The City of Binyan has a population of 283,396 based on the 2010 Census of Population and Housing issued by the Philippine Statistics Authority and declared official by the President under Proclamation number 362 dated March 30th, 2012. The population count is expected to continue to rise drastically in the coming years because of in-migration, as the city has become both a suburban residential community of Metro Manila and a popular locus for large businesses that provide thousands of employment. The 1987 Constitution, particularly under Article 6, Section 5, subparagraph 1, mandates that the House of Representatives shall be composed of not more than 250 members unless otherwise fixed by law, who shall be elected from legislative districts apportioned amongst the provinces, cities, and the Metropolitan Manila area in accordance with the number of the respective inhabitants and on the basis of a uniform and progressive ratio, and those who, as provided by law, shall be elected through a party list system of registered national, regional, and sectoral parties or organizations. Furthermore, Article 6, Section 5, subparagraph 3 of the Constitution provides that each legislative district shall comprise, as far as practicable, contiguous, compact, and adjacent territory. Each city with a population of at least 250,000 or each province shall have at least one representative. With the noted increase in the population of the city of Binyan, which is now reported to have exceeded the 250,000 population threshold under the Constitution for a city to be entitled to one legislative district, the said city indeed deserves its own seat in the House of Representatives. It is for this reason, Mr. President, that I earnestly request my colleagues in this august chamber to join me in approving House Bill number 3917 under Committee Report number 72. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Marcos. The Majority Leader.
President, may I ask for a minute suspension?
1 minute suspension.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Sir President, to give the opportunity to some of our members to propound questions in the period of interpellation, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 3917, Committee Report number 72, and we will be taking this up either on Monday or Tuesday, Mr. President.
There is a motion that that we suspend consideration of House Bill 3917 and Committee Report number 72, with the manifestation that the same will be calendared for debates on Monday or Tuesday next week. Any objection? Hearing none. Deliberation of the measure is suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we transfer Senate Bill number 2419 under Committee Report number 78 from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
Any objection? Hearing none. The Senate Bill 2419 under Committee Report 78 is transferred from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
With the consent of the Senate and our colleagues, Mr. President, I move that we consider Senate Bill number 2419 under Committee Report number 78.
Consideration of the measure is in order.
With the permission of the body, Mr. President, I move that the Secretary read only the title of the said measure.
Secretary will read the title of the measure.
An act banning the reappointment of a regular member of the Judicial and Bar Council, JBC, who has already served 2 full terms.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize Senator Pimentel to sponsor the said measure.
Senator Pimentel is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Thank you. Mr. President, as Chairman of the Committee on Justice and Human Rights, this representation humbly submits before this august chamber for consideration Senate Bill number 2419 per Committee Report number 78, entitled An Act Banning the Reappointment of a Regular Member of the Judicial and Bar Council, or JBC, who has already served 2 full terms. An independent judiciary is a hallmark of a healthy democracy. With this in mind, our Constitution sought to insulate the judiciary from political influence or familiarity by establishing the Judicial and Bar Council, also known by its acronym JBC, and conferring upon it the duty of screening applicants to the judiciary. The JBC is composed of the Supreme Court Chief Justice as ex officio chairperson, the Secretary of Justice, the Chairperson of the Committee on Justice of the House of Representatives, and the Chairperson of the Senate Committee on Justice and Human Rights as the ex officio members, and a representative of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, a professor of law, a retired member of the Supreme Court, and a representative of the private sector as regular members. The intention behind the JBC is indeed laudable. Hence, the need to protect and preserve such laudable intention and objective. Under existing laws, the regular members of the JBC may be reappointed without limitation and under different capacities. For instance, one regular member of the JBC was reappointed thrice in different capacities: as a representative of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines from 1997 to 2003, and as a representative of the Academe from 2003 until 2010. Another regular member was reappointed thrice as a retired member of the Supreme Court from 1997 until 2013, while another regular member was reappointed thrice as a representative of the private sector from 1988 until 2004. Aside from the resulting loss of opportunity for other qualified applicants to be appointed as regular members of the JBC, this concept of perpetual reappointment of a regular member may open the possibility of the appointee incurring political indebtedness to the appointing authority, such that the more a regular member seeks his or her reappointment, the deeper the political indebtedness becomes. This may seriously diminish or even compromise the regular member's impartiality, especially in screening applicants who may have close connections or are perceived to be associated with the appointing authority. Thus, the objective of keeping judicial appointments free from political pressures may sadly end up for naught. Accordingly, this measure proposes to prohibit the reappointment of a regular member of the JBC in any capacity whatsoever after the regular member has served 2 full terms of office, whether the terms be consecutive or not. This ban will ensure that no regular member of the JBC shall indefinitely sit in the council and serve purely at the appointing authority's bidding. While this proposal operates to establish a disqualification, we find it necessary to prevent any political interference in the affairs of the body tasked to recommend appointees to the judiciary. Hence, this representation humbly asks for the prompt approval of this measure. Maraming salamat.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Pimentel. Mr. President, to again allow our colleagues to be able to have an opportunity to propound questions and for the period of interpellation, I move that we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 2419 under Committee Report number 78, and we can again take this up on Tuesday. Upon agreement with Senator Marcos and the officials of Binyan, we will take up the previous bill on Monday. So with the permission of Senator Pimentel, we'll take this up on Tuesday.
Yes, but before that, just for the record, may we request the sponsor in the next, when we take the bill again in the next session, to spread into the record the issue of the limitation on the presidential power to appoint for a 3rd term. The chair would like to state for the record that he is in favor of he recognizes the wisdom, but so that we can address fully all issues that may be raised, may the sponsor be requested that when the bill is again taken up in the next session, that he spreads into the record the reasons why this is not an undue limitation on the power to appoint, given the fact that under the Constitution there is no limit on the number of times that a member of the JBC may be appointed. Just so it is reflected on the record, we would like to request that this be studied by the
Yes, sir.
sponsor.
We will pursue that aspect, Mr. Senate President. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank
With
you, Mr.
that,
President.
we now
I move that we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 2419 under Committee Report number 78, Mr.
so suspended.
Mr. President, with consent of the Senate, I move that we resume consideration of Senate Bill number 332 under Committee Report number 88. This is the National Children's Day Bill, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of the measure is in order.
Sir President, the parliamentary status is that the sponsor, Senator Pia Cayetano, gave her sponsorship speech yesterday, and we scheduled the period for interpellation today. So I move that we open the period of interpellation.
Period of interpellation is in order.
Sir President, there are no members who reserve the right to interpellate or to propound questions. Therefore, I move that we
Close.
close the period for interpellation, Mr. President.
So terminated.
Sir President, there are no committee amendments, and there are no member who also registered to make an individual amendment. Therefore, I move that we close the period for debate and amendments, Mr. President.
So closed.
I move that we approve on second reading, Mr. President, Senate Bill number 332 under Committee Report number 88.
Any objection? Hearing none.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 332 under Committee Report number 88.
We first approve on second reading Senate Bill 332. No
Yes.
objection. Approved. We
Sorry,
now,
Mr. President. I move that we suspend consideration of Senate Bill 332 under Committee Report number 88.
consideration of Senate Bill 332 is hereby suspended.
Sir President, may I ask for a minute suspension to consult whether or not the BICAM report for the GAA 2015
Session suspended.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, upon consultation with the members of the Secretariat, the Senate has received the BICAM report, but it is quite thick, a couple of inches being printed, and of course, it is part of the right of each senator to go through the BICAM report before we vote on it. So with the permission of the body, copies will be distributed as soon as it is printed. Then we will take this up on Monday, Mr. President.
All right. So noted. We calendar the proposed ratification of the Bicameral Conference Committee on the General Appropriations Bill on Monday, December
15,
2014.
On that note, Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, December 15, 2014.
Session is adjourned until 3 p.m. of Monday, December 15, 2014.